back to Crossfire. Lieutenant General William Boykin is leading the hunt for Osama bin Laden, and he's also an evangelical Christian. Last June, while speaking to a group of evangelicals, Boykin reportedly said that radical Muslims hate the U.S. because, quote, we're a Christian nation and the enemy is a guy named Satan. All of which is undeniably true, and too much of the usual commissars of political correctness who complain that Boykin is being insensitive to the terrorist community. Well, should Boykin be fired for pointing out the obvious? To debate it, we are joined this afternoon by Hussein Ibish of the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, and in Lynchburg, Virginia, is the founder and chancellor of Liberty University, the Reverend Jerry Falwell.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Reverend Falwell, you were always gracious about joining us, and I want to thank you for that. Not to be ungracious, but I want to put you on the spot here. You know what General Boykin said, in my eyes, rather outrageous statements about Islam. He even called the God of Islam an idol, a false god. I want to play you a piece of videotape of our president, who has a very different view. Here's President George W. Bush.
The face of terror is not the true faith of Islam. That's not what Islam is all about. Islam is peace.
Reverend Falwell, I think President Bush is right and General Boykin is wrong. Who do you agree with?
Well, first of all, I agree with both of them. General Boykin never said that Islam in general and the radical terrorists who compose too large a group among the Islamics are the same. As a matter of fact, he made quite a huge difference in that. And, you know, it was President Lincoln during the war between the states who was asked, Mr. President, are you praying that God will be on our side? He said, no, I'm praying we'll get on God's side. It was Benjamin Franklin who called the Constitutional Convention to prayer in 1787, saying that if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without God's notice, is it likely a nation can rise without his aid? It's only been in recent times that it's become politically correct to attack Christians and to have open game on anyone like General Boykin, who in his own church among believers exercises his First Amendment rights and shares his faith, a faith, by the way, that scores of millions of Christians believe that there is a true and living God in heaven, and that there is a real person named Satan, and that there is good and evil.
Okay, Mr. Falwell, I'm going to ask Hussein Ibish a question. Let's consider what General Boykin said. He said first that Islamic extremists are worshiping a false god. Undeniably true.
No, he didn't say.
Second, let me finish. He said, let me finish. He said, second, they are waging a religious war. These are Muslims educated in Muslim schools, waging a war on behalf of their idea of Islam. In what sense is he wrong? He spoke the truth, and it just offends you, but tough.
No, what he said was that the United States is a Christian nation that derives its power from Christianity, that we go into battle against our enemies in the name of Jesus, and that President Bush wasn't elected by millions of Americans. He was appointed by God. I have to say that those kind of statements in a country that we live in, a democratic country which is multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious, are unacceptable. I think they bespeak a religious extremism that's totally inappropriate for the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, a highly sensitive, highly important job. I think he revealed himself to be a religious extremist, a fanatic, and someone who's frankly irrational.
Well, Reverend Falwell, let me ask you about one of those comments that Hussein just mentioned. General Boykin said, and I'm quoting him here, about our president, why is this man in the White House? The majority of Americans did not vote for him. He's right about that. Why is he there? And I tell you this morning, he is in the White House because God put him there for a time such as this. Now, in case General Boykin is watching, and for our folks at home, let me show a couple of images here. First, this is God. God is depicted, actually, by Michelangelo in his masterpiece on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. On the right side of your screen is William Rehnquist. He's the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He's the one who put George Bush in the White House, isn't he, Reverend Falwell? Not God.
Well, if you don't take the Bible seriously, what you and Hussein just said would be true. But the vast majority of believers worldwide, Christian followers of Christ, believe that God rules in the affairs of men, and history would support that. And when we get leaders, wait a minute. You worked for a long time for Bill Clinton. You worked for a long time for Bill Clinton. I think that we needed Bill Clinton because we turned our backs on the Lord, and we needed a bad president to get our attention again, to pray for a good president. That's what I believe.
So, you know, I really think this kind of extreme religious rhetoric is very disempowering, because it says to us, whatever's happening is the fault of God.
Really?
God did this, God did that. God elected Bush, God elected Clinton.
I don't hear you
he didn't. The American people did that.
And
whatever problems we have, we can sort them out for ourselves without blaming God. This is absurd.
I noticed that you're extremely quick to pounce on a certain sort of religious extremism, but you, like I would say most representatives of organized Islamic groups, say virtually
I don't work
nothing
for an Islamic group.
when
I work for an Arab American group
leader.
that includes both Christians and Muslims.
I want to give you an example. This, as doubtless you've seen it, is the Prime Minister of Malaysia. This is part of what he said last week. Here we go.
The Europeans killed 6 million Jews out of 12 million. But today the Jews rule this world by proxy. They get others to fight and die for them.
Okay, so it's outrageous, but there are no demonstrations by Muslim groups.
Well, no one's demonstrating about Mr. Boykin. Mahathir Mohamad
you're here
is
demonstrating against him. Why aren't you in the streets
I was invited here to discuss Mr. Boykin. Now you want to talk about Mahathir Mohamad? I'll say I'm glad that in 10 or 12 days' time he's not going to be the president of Malaysia anymore, and that's very good. Those kind of comments have no place in this world.
Is that right?
Well,
tell the foreign minister of Egypt who praised him today.
I certainly will if he calls me up and asks me, or if I'm invited on a show. I'll certainly be happy to say that, but I'm more concerned about our own government officials here in the United States, and that's our responsibility as Americans first. But I agree, Mahathir Mohamad's comments were absolutely ludicrous and outrageous. Religious extremism is all over the world. We don't need it in the Defense Department.
I'm trying to interrupt you. I want one quick last question to Reverend Falwell. General Boykin also talked about looking at a photograph in Mogadishu, which he said included an unexplained dark mark, which he explains as a manifestation of evil. Do you believe that this general has photographs of Satan?
I don't believe he was saying that. I believe he was saying that men who are wicked enough to kill women, children, bomb buses with little children on them, and do the terrible things, bring down the trade center, and so forth, that people who do that kind of thing, like Stalin, like Adolf Hitler, like all the wicked leaders in human history, are satanically controlled, satanically possessed, and General Boykin was saying exactly what born-again Christians all over this world believe, and I'm surprised there's nobody on that platform besides Mr. Carlson who doesn't know that.
That has to be the last word from Reverend Jerry Falwell, who joins us from Lynchburg, Virginia. Reverend Falwell, always good to have you. Thank you, sir. Hussein Ibish here in Washington. Thank you as well, my friend. Good job on both parts. Well, you've heard the debate now. We want to know, should General Boykin be fired for his comments? We'll have the results for you later in Crossfire. But first, is there